The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. It's Friday and we're moving quickly to the middle of April, National Autism Awareness Month here. It's been a very exciting month and today is no exception. We've got a lot of exciting stuff going on here today, so I'm going to kind of speed it up a little bit so we can get our fabulous guests in. We always like to, at the top of the show, remind you that this show is meant to be interactive. Emily's going to show you some of the different ways that you can watch the show and some of the different ways that you can get in touch with us here, because we encourage your suggestions, your comments, your questions, whatever, even if you just want to tell us where you are and that you're hanging in there. So Emily's starting to show some of those to you. And while she's doing that, I want to remind you that there's only one way to watch us live right now, and that's www.autism-live.com. When you go there, and we are live from 1 to 3, that's Eastern time, or 10 to noon Pacific time, and whatever time zone you're in, you can do the math from either of those configurations. When we're live, you can go to that site, hit you don't have to hit anything actually, but if you are having trouble seeing it, just hit the refresh button and it'll start to play the live show. There is a feature there. There's a white box that says questions we're answering right now. Put your cursor there, type in whatever you'd like, hit enter, and it shows up magically right here on my screen. And you and I can talk in real time, and you can also ask questions of the guests that we have here. And that's a very exciting thing. It's all free. You don't have to log in. There's no credit card. We're not asking for your name or your phone number, but if you want to give us specific information so that I can have somebody get back to you, you certainly can. I have a way of editing that information out before I show it publicly. And some of you are starting to do that. That's great, because otherwise I have no idea who you are and I can't get a hold of you if you write in a question, which is also fine. It's great to be anonymous, isn't it? In any case, I want to remind you at the top of the show here, and as I try to every day, that I host this show, but I am not an expert in autism. I am not a lawyer. I am not a nutritionist. What else am I not? Let's go through the list. But I am an autism mom. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. He is now 9, going to be 10 this summer, and doing remarkably well. We still are working on some things, but he speaks, and I didn't know that that was going to happen. Get a little verklempt. He is in a completely included 4th grade class and doing remarkably well, the top of his class. And that's a very exciting thing for me because as I said, I did not know that we would ever be here. We still have things that we're working on. And depending on when you met him on what day, you may automatically recognize that he has autism or you may not, which is kind of an interesting thing. So that's why I'm here. This is a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. And I know that progress is available for all of our kids. And that if we just get information to people at the right time and help them to get the funding, because let's admit it, that's a part of this, then our kids, the sky's the limit in terms of the progress that they can make. All of our kids are different, but there's a progress available for all of them, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. So I hope that if you're a parent, teacher, or practitioner and you tune into the show, that we can help hook you up with some information. And if you are an individual on the spectrum, that we can also hook you up with information and inspire everybody everybody. And today we have get out the inspiration police because we have some good stuff happening today. But we have to start every morning with something that I fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and try to give you, first of all, the actual definition so that you begin to put these terms together, but a working definition so it can be user-friendly today, right? Because it's great to know what something means, but what does it mean to me today? How is this going to change my life, make my life better today? That's usually the question that I want answered. So that's what we try to do for you. Now, today, our term is NET. You may remember that yesterday we did DTT, and I promised that we would talk about this today. So what is NET and why is it important to you? Let's take a look at our actual definition. NET is Natural Environment Training. Training and generalization of skills within the child's natural environment. Okay, that's great, but if you don't know what generalization is, you go, I'm now closer to knowing what the heck we're talking about. So our working definition is training and generalization of skills within the child's natural environment. Okay, let's break it down for you. DTT, we talked about it yesterday. Taking a moment out of time and teaching a very specific, this happens, and then you get a reinforcer, right? That's a very contrived environment. It's not realistic. It really helps to break things down so that you can begin to teach something. But if that's all you ever do, then it's not going to look the same and the person's not going to be able to react in real time. It's not going to be their own skill. Sometimes when we hear people talk about, ABA, it trains kids to be robots. Well, no, that's not the case because you're never going to do DTT on its own. If you did, I guess you'd have the potential to have that, but nobody's going to do that because we might start a skill using DTT and then move to NET, where we're going to do things in the natural environment. You separate the little elements out to teach a child to say hi. You separate a moment where nothing else is going on and somebody says to the child, hi, and prompts them to say hi, and then they get a reinforcer for it, right? They get access to something to play with, or they get a jelly bean or something else that they like to eat, right? That would be the DTT of it. But with NET, we want to make sure that we're in the grocery store and somebody says hello and the child, we're going to prompt them there in the natural environment to say hi back. And we want to give them tons of opportunities to do that so that at some point we get to that generalization thing that we mentioned where they can be anywhere. A million places that we haven't taught them to say hi, and someone says hi to them and the child responds and says hi. That's what we're working towards. DTT is the very first, sometimes, element of it, and NET is an important element of it. And I'm not going to belabor this because in just a few minutes we're going to be joined by Dr. Adel Nadjowski, and she is going to tell us how to get real progress using these two things and when to use one versus the other. Why not get an expert, right? Right? So she'll be here in just a couple of minutes to talk about that with us. But NET, really important element. DTT is important too, but you want to use them in conjunction. That's the important thing, right? Okay, so we always have a question of the day for you. And we've already gotten some great answers to our question of the day today, hoping that we have a second to look at them on Facebook. Who has shown you or your child compassion? And we were just reading through some of them this morning, and they were really amazing. I hope that you guys will take a second to write how someone has shown you or your child compassion, because our topic of this week, let's segue to the topic of the week. All week long, we are talking about compassion in action. So that is our topic of the week. I'm going to scroll to that. Compassion in action. This is a really important thing to all of us, isn't it? That we take an opportunity to model the behavior. We know that we want people to show compassion to us because it feels good when people show compassion to us. And we for sure, those of us who are parents of kids on the spectrum, we for sure want people to show compassion to our kids. To think about what they're going through and show that compassion. It's not easy, right? What our kids go through. And the best way, I think, or at least one of the ways to get that compassion back is to show it. So all this month, we're taking action. And you guys have been writing in and telling us some of the amazing things that you are doing at home. And I want to encourage you to send us a 1 to 2 minute video. You can upload it to YouTube or you can send it directly to us. We'd like to show video so people can get to know what you're doing. I have had the most amazing conversations this week, and I just tell you about what people are doing and how they're making a difference in the world. And we're really going to focus in on some of those different stories next week. But I am in awe of all of you and the things that you're doing. And can I just say, and I shaved my head on Monday to show compassion for Ryan Oaf, a young dad who has brain cancer and is battling brain cancer. So I shaved my head, and I tell you, it has been the most amazing gift in my life, the conversations that I've had with people about this and the people that I've gotten to meet. And total strangers are coming up to me and talking to me about, okay, why did you shave your head? And also, I will admit too, sometimes people are just showing compassion to me, and I would guess that it's because they are concerned that maybe they think that I have something medically going on. And I'm thrilled to see that people are willing to show compassion. I feel a little guilty, and I want to say to people, I'm fine. Save that, for somebody else. But it is a lovely thing to know that if somebody is out there and has shaved their head, that people are being super duper sweet to me. But honestly, on top of all that, getting to hear what other people are doing for compassion in action has really made me think about all the things that I can do. And I hope that it's got you thinking about that too, and noticing things. Noticing when people are showing compassion, and noticing in myself when I'm not. I'll be honest about that there have been a couple of moments this week where I went, well, where is that compassion? Where did that go? And I shared with my niece, who's an amazing young woman, one of my favorite people on the face of the earth, who decided that she was going to take one action every day this month. And I shared with her that this makes me want to be a better person. This just makes me want to be a better person, and that can't be a bad thing, right? So please keep writing in and telling us what you're doing. It's so inspirational to all of us. And let us know if we can share what you're doing and if you'd be willing to let us show a video, because we would love to do that. Okay. We'll continue to talk about compassion today, but we've got an amazing lineup for you. So starting with this morning, we have real progress with Dr. Adel. She's going to be here, and she's going to be talking with us about when do you use DTT, when do you use NET, and really informative. So I hope you'll stick with us for that. That's going to be in just a couple of minutes. And then earlier than we normally have him on, we're going to have Dr. Jonathan Tarbox here talking about research, talking about compassion, how we teach our kids to be compassionate, and answering your questions. Both Dr. Nadjowski and Dr. Tarbox will be taking your questions live about the things that we're talking about, but about other things as well. So if you're looking for some information, feel free to be on the live feature right now doing that. And then at the top of the next hour, it's very exciting to me, we are going to be joined by a very talented and fabulous young man. Nick Guzman is going to be here. He is a young gentleman who identifies himself, I believe, as on the spectrum, and he is going to be performing tomorrow night. He has an opportunity to open for Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and then we'll be performing with them on stage for the Light Up the Blues event being sponsored by Autism Speaks here in Los Angeles. That's tomorrow night here in Los Angeles. And so Nick is going to be here with us in the studio, and I believe has agreed to play some music for us. We're going to get musical on you here this morning, but so inspirational. I had the opportunity to meet Nick a couple of weeks ago at an Art of Autism event, and what a lovely young man. And hopefully we're going to get his mom in here too, because Oh, yes. And I have got to remind you before we do anything else that you need to, as soon as possible, register. This is an amazing book. We had a special guest here on Tuesday, Yolanda Baker, the author of this book, Bite Your Bills, Cutting Medical Costs for the Disabled. The subtitle is How I Got $28,000 Back in Medical Expenses. Can I just tell you, this has been my Bible this week because I am a last-minute Lulu. And last night I was hunched over the computer working on the taxes, getting everything ready. And this was such a great resource. And if I weren't here today, I would be on the free webinars that Yolanda is doing today. It's not too late. You can register to do, she's got 2 webinars happening today and the potential for more next week. They're free. What more can I say? It doesn't get better than free, right? Fabulous, fabulous resource. She herself is an autism mom, and she went through this and saved herself $28,000. She assures us, and I can tell you, it helped me on this year's taxes. So it's not too late to help you with this year's taxes. But in addition to that, as I was noticing some of the things that I was going through the taxes, and I was saying, well, I do have this. I don't have this together, but I now am armed with the information that I can save a great deal more next year, which, how much do we love that? Money, we always talk about money on Fridays, call them Funding Fridays, because we all need funding for our kids. Let's face it, there are things that we would like to spend money on other than medical expenses. So this is a great, great resource, and I love the fact that it's not long and there are entertaining things in it. So you can check this out. Go to biteyourbills.com. You can get this book there, and you can also register for the free webinars. Again, if you can't be at the webinar today, go in and register and leave Yolanda a message saying, I'd like to do this next week, because she said she's willing to do some next week. Let her know when you're available. What a wonderful gift to our community that she's doing this. So take advantage of it. Don't be a victim. Save yourself some money. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to get Dr. Nadjowski in here and talk about when do you use NET, when do you use DTT. Stick with us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman. We're here doing allergy-free cooking, and I brought my sister with me today.
Jamie Davis, thanks for having me.
A lot of people are asking about an allergy-free breakfast, and breakfast can be full of crap.
But it's full of crap, and it's hard to do. We don't have time in the morning. We're in a hurry.
We're going completely nut-free. The recipe is not
personality. We can't do anything about.
Yeah, can't do anything about that. So we're going to start off first with. I'm using sorghum and brown rice flour. I find the texture good, and I've added some flaxseed meal. We talked about that last time, flaxseed meal for poop. Almost every one of our kids has a poop issue. What's next on the recipe is the quinoa flakes, baking powder, cinnamon, and the xanthan gum. It brings the glutinous texture back into the flour, and often what happens with these recipes is they can fall apart. This one holds up nicely. I like it. For the folks that are egg-free, we have a ton of egg replacers. One of those can be the arrowroot starch or bringing back some additional flaxseed. So there's a lot of options to go eggless, but we're going to go egg-full in this one. For sweetener, I use the maple syrup. I stay away from refined sugar. What I'm adding now is the coconut milk, maple syrup, and a little bit of the coconut oil. And we're going to add in the raisins, craisins, and chocolate chips at the end. I find that chocolate chips can coax people to eat some really amazing things. When we started, Jeff had 42 food allergies, so we had to get creative in how we cooked. So nuts were a big, big issue. What I like now is that he can tolerate so many more things after start doing this diet. So let me show you how you can deal with this sticky stuff here. You get your fingers really wet, and you can push it down. So my oven has been preheated. It's at 350 degrees. So we're going to just throw this in. Like I said, I like it around 23 minutes. And the magic oven says, I'm done. Looks like. Don't you love magic ovens? They're awesome. There we go. Pops right out. The texture of these, and it's so pretty. It looks almost like a big chocolate chip cookie, but you actually made it healthy. But you can be my guinea pig. Tell me what you think.
It looks really good.
Doesn't it? So the textures and the colors in there are just beautiful. So the raisins are for you, the chocolate chips are for your kid.
I can't believe it's gluten-free.
I know, right? It doesn't taste like, crap. We're wrapping up another cooking show. If you have feedback, you can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. We're, of course, on Facebook. You could go to facebook.com/autismlive. And, of course, Talkin' Now has thousands of recipes. Join me there, and we can cook some more later on. So thanks for joining us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest right now is Dr. Adel Nadjowski, and so thrilling to have you. It's been a couple of weeks because I've been away on Fridays, and so thrilled to have you back with us. And I said earlier, we were talking about what NET is, and I said, but you know what? We have an expert coming in to talk about what NET is and what DTT is. So thrilled to have you here to talk about these
I missed you last Friday.
Well, I missed you last Friday too, but it was spring break, so, and I always say here, I have to be a mom first and foremost, as all of you know. And you're a mom. We gotta show up for our kids, and they grow so fast.
Yeah, it worked out well for me too because it ended up being our spring break as well.
Oh, so, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Did you guys do something fun?
Yeah, we took one day off and we did a Disneyland trip.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. We went to the California Science Center and saw the Endeavour space shuttle.
Oh.
I highly recommend it. It was awesome.
Okay.
It was very cool.
Thank you.
And we're going to be covering some fun things, by the way, to do in the coming months. We've got some plans to go take some field trips if you're interested in knowing things to do.
Okay. Yeah,
I am. Thrilled to have you talking about this because it can be, for an autism parent, you hear these terms DTT, NET, and you see little videos about things, and a lot of times people don't identify, okay, this is what this is and this is what this is. But you've brought us some video to show exactly, so we can see what it looks like. Which one are we going to see first, DTT?
Let's start with looking at DTT, and before we look at the videos, I'll just basically explain that DTT is a more structured teaching format, which you'll notice in the video. And then we'll look at the NET, and you'll notice that that's a little bit more loose. And then we'll kind of talk about how they're similar and different, and what the advantages and disadvantages are of each.
Awesome.
Okay.
Love the topic. Okay, so right now we're going to look at what DTT looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is.
Knock. Awesome. Stomp feet. Good work. Clap hands. Good work. Knock. Yay! Look at that. Good job.
Okay, wonderful. So we get to see that very precise. She says something, the child does something, she gives praise. She says something again, the child does it, gives praise, says something, the child does it, child gets the reward.
Yeah, that's why it's called discrete trial, because every trial is discrete with a very specific beginning and a very specific end.
Okay, I always think of discrete as not telling things, not gossiping, and I'm like, oh, we're not gossiping while we're doing these trials.
Right. So the start of the trial is when the instruction's presented, then the child engages in a response, and if they need assistance, then they're helped through the response to get it correct. And then they're provided with a consequence, which is usually praise, and then that's paired with actual rewards and reinforcers that the child really likes.
Now, if you haven't seen DTT before, it just looks crazy. It looks like, what on earth are you doing? How could this possibly be helpful? Really, what are we doing? Are we just training robots? I mean, that was the thing that was said to me early on. Don't do ABA because it'll train your child to be a robot. And then you see DTT, and to a parent, it looks completely unnatural. I am now a huge fan of DTT because it was the way that we could begin to teach Jem so many things.
Well, I have a funny story. When I was first starting out in this field, it was actually in 1995. I was 19 years old, and I was a sophomore in undergrad. And I was looking to do some sort of internship or something to get more familiarized with how we can use psychology out there in the real world. And I knew I didn't want to do, psychotherapy or something like that. So I ended up going and observing a session, and they were doing DTT with this little boy, and I got to sit there for 2 hours and watch a session, and I was like in complete awe of the situation because I saw him literally learn things on the spot in those 2 hours. And I was just in awe. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and I do think, I remember when my mom came to watch Jem have therapy, she hadn't been around us right after he was diagnosed, and she came and she watched a session. And the first time they did something, she went, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen. But over a day, he had 2 sessions in that first day, and by the end of the day, she was calling everyone on her phone saying, you have got to know about this. This is the most amazing thing. You'll never guess what he learned today. And I saw him learn it.
Right.
I saw that, and she was so excited.
That's so cool.
And I do think, people need to know that very quickly, because when you eliminate all those other things, a child can very quickly get it. And it is addictive when you see a child get something.
So basically with DTT, what it is that it's more of a tabletop, sitting there with, flashcards or not or whatever, but you're teaching at a table, and it's very structured and specific, and the child's in learning mode.
Yep.
And they learn to learn, and they know when they're doing that they're learning.
Yep.
And they get ready for it too, because we try to make it fun, and there's lots of breaks and lots of fun, rewarding reinforcers and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't have to be at a table. It could be sitting down. You should probably move rooms. You should have lots of different people doing it, all of those kind of things too, just so that it doesn't get to the point where it is just robotic or rote, or they can only do things under very, very specific conditions,
Absolutely. Now, something else, though, I was going to say the flip, but it's not the complete flip, but something a little different is NET.
Yeah, let's watch that video.
Okay, let's take a look at what this looks like.
Blue paint, and pink paint, and yellow paint, white paint, and green paint, and red paint. What? Sure, you can have your paint. There you go. Here, do you want to use the brush? See, I'm painting. I'm painting. Yellow. And I did yellow. And I did yellow. And I did yellow. And I did yellow paint. Yeah.
Okay, so an entirely different feel to it.
Yeah.
But it's still a teaching moment that's happening. Natural environment training is what it's called, and it's a very natural environment. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So the teaching is going on in the child's natural environment, and it's centered around their current interests. So a lot of times what it involves is the teacher taking the child, or letting the child take the lead in terms of what do they feel like doing right now, and you see them going towards, I think I want to paint. Okay. Yeah. And then from there they throw in targets and things they're going to start to teach in that moment. So, okay, we're trying to work on his colors and having him label them correctly. We're trying to work on him making requests for things that he wants spontaneously without us having to ask him, what do you want? And we're trying to also teach him object labels. And those are the 3 things that they were working on there in that painting situation. So he was extremely motivated. He's very interested in painting. And just by putting things out of reach and making it so that the child cannot get them, what does that do? It sets up some sort of motivation for the child to, there's this thing he wants, and he's more likely now to engage in these language type of behaviors we're looking for to get them. So she required him to actually not just say, I want the paint, but to say, I want the yellow paint, or I want the blue paint, so that he could start to learn the differences between his colors and start to utilize that in language. So totally 2 different situations here. Obviously, with this one, there's a lot less practice opportunities. Yeah. But it's totally centered on the child's motivation. So.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. It seems like a lot of times in the autism community, there seem to be camps, right?
Yeah.
Of, we do DTT and we do NET, and a lot of misunderstanding about the fact that a lot of people intertwine these 2 things and use them together.
Yes, they are both considered ABA-based teaching paradigms. And it's not meant for one or the other to be chosen. And for the most part, you look at the child's situation and how do they learn best. And some children learn really well in natural environment training. Other children need a little bit more of the practice, sit down. So you kind of have to design it based on that. But Yeah, a little bit. There's some of that kind of camp stuff. Like some people think you should just do NET 100% of the time, for example.
Yeah. And if your child responds to that, you know, that's great. But I, as a parent, my child wasn't picking things up in the natural environment. There were too many things going on. If I had only ever taught him using NET, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Right.
Because he couldn't pick things up in that way. But on the flip of it, I think about where would we have been if we'd only ever done DTT and not incorporated NET. My child wouldn't enjoy the things that he enjoys now.
Well, and the thing that's interesting, if you think about it, with DTT and NET, they're very similar in terms of what they're doing using ABA. So in both situations, you're still doing the ABC model.
Yes.
I'm sure you talk about that all the time on the show.
Yes, the antecedent, the behavior, the consequence.
Yeah, there's no difference.
Yeah.
So it's still the ABC model. It's just how is it being presented? Is it being presented quickly, with fast pace, one after the other, and like not lots of distractions and getting the child to focus and in a learning mode? Or is it using the ABC model kind of when you're out and about in the community, walking through the kitchen or whatever? And so if it were me, what I would be doing is NET like anytime I'm not in a teaching mode.
Right.
So we should probably have certain teaching modes of the day that we sit down and do that kind of stuff, but any time other than that, so that you can get 24 hours around the clock intervention, you're doing NET. Always.
Absolutely.
Everywhere. I do that right now with my own daughter.
Yeah.
And always have, so that I can teach her more language, teach her how to be polite. You know, in every situation, there's some sort of learning opportunity.
Absolutely. And exciting what can happen when you up the number of opportunities you give your child.
Yeah, yeah.
So absolutely thrilling to talk about these two things. And as a parent, though, if somebody is just starting out and maybe they have gone and taken a couple of the IBT trainings and they're using skills, for instance, and they look at a particular lesson, how do they decide what format do I teach this in?
Yeah, that's difficult, and we don't actually dictate that in the skills program.
Yeah.
So I would say whenever you're teaching the child some sort of requesting behavior or something like that, NET is probably really good because we can do practice opportunities where we're sitting down and asking the child, what do you want? What do you want? And presenting options and stuff like that. That's something that they probably should be able to do. But they also need to be able to ask for it in the natural environment when they actually want it. And for some reason, sometimes that doesn't transfer over.
Yeah.
So, any sort of thing where they can set up a motivation kind of situation or any sort of like adaptive skill, they should do it when it is time to brush the teeth in the morning and at night. But then, throughout the day too, maybe they'll sit down and do a little discrete trial and practice it with multiple opportunities. So it's just going to depend on the skill, Also, let's say you're getting at a more advanced skill, something where it just doesn't really make sense to sit down and drill somebody about, how to learn about, perspective taking or something like that.
Right. It makes more. Yeah, I think after you start to do this, it makes a little bit more sense which you would use when. But we talk all the time about having a tool belt and putting tools in your tool belt and then figuring out which tool you're going to use at which time. That this really is a creative art, ABA.
Yeah.
And our children are creative and they deserve our creativity with it. So if you can think of these two things, DTT and NET, as things in your tool belt, is that an appropriate thing to think of?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I would never, take the position of you should try to use DTT or NET or there's one that's better than the other or something like that. It's not.
Because probably with each individual child, there are moments when one or the other, in different circumstances, would be what's appropriate.
Yeah, the other thing is, look at the age of the child.
Yeah.
If you have, these days, we're starting to do some stuff with little babies that we know are at-risk siblings. And because they're at risk, we're getting in there right away and working with them. But they're not going to be able to sit down at a table and do
Well, I'm glad
trials.
you brought that up, because a lot of times, and I remember when I first heard about ABA, and I tried to, and this was, in the dark ages when there weren't as many videos as that are online now. But I remember going to see a video and I saw a child sitting at a table and learning, and I thought, well, that excludes us right now because my child can't sit in a chair. That's where we were. I was like, how in the heck did they get the child to sit in the chair? If I could do that, folks, we'd be okay, right?
Yeah, so it's shaped over time, and it starts in small doses and stuff like that. But the younger the child, they're going to need a lot more breaks.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So NET is really great to use with them.
And I would tell you honestly that when they came in and started working with my son for the first 3 months, it was all NET. and they played with him, and it was all NET, and they made huge progress. And they got rapport, and when that 3 months was over, for the first time they sat him down at the table, and my child flew. The things that he learned in the 3 months after that, earth-shattering.
And all those people were now very reinforcing to him because they played with him and developed this rapport.
And he was ready. And my kid, who I said, "How are you going to get him to sit in a chair? Good luck with that, folks." And he sat right in that chair. I remember the day that Peter Farrig, we got the table set up, and Peter Farrig said, "Okay, buddy, sit in the chair." My child sat there, and he was like, "Peter, what are we going to do? What are we going to do today?"
Right.
And amazing. Yeah. And the rest of that year, that's a year that I look back and think, life-changing year.
Right.
Well, absolutely amazing. And if people have more questions about DTT and NET, they can write in.
Yes.
You'll be back with us next Friday.
In fact, I would be happy to share some PowerPoint slides that I have that go into a little more detail about what the differences are between them in terms of the teaching arrangement, what the antecedents, the behaviors, and the consequences look like, because there are some differences.
Okay.
As well as very specific advantages and disadvantages. So anyone interested in that, we can get them a copy of a few slides from PowerPoint.
But these are powerful, powerful tools to help change what's happening in terms of how your child's learning. Amazing stuff. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Dr. Jonathan Tarbox. And then don't forget, in just a little while, Nick Guzman is going to be joining us, and we're going to hear some amazing music. So stick with us.
Welcome back. It's April, which means it's also spring. And what we're going to be doing today is making our very own chia pets. What's cool about this project, it's an activity that you can revisit with your family as you watch it grow and change. All right, now that I piqued your interest, let's get to it. The materials we'll be needing are water, dirt, arts and craft materials, chia seeds, a container, and nylon. So let's get started. It's super easy. All you're going to do is you're going to take an old pair of nylons that you have, you're going to cut off the toe, and what you're going to do is you're going to take some of your chia seeds and sprinkle them at the very bottom. We don't need too much, just a little bit. And then once I've got my chia seeds there, I'm going to take my dirt and pour that in. And we want to make sure that we've got quite a bit in there. You want to keep this tail. What this does is acts as a way to soak up the water to feed your little chia plant. So I'm going to take the bottom now. I'm going to tie this into a knot. So now that I've got this little guy, now it's time to decorate him. And you can decorate him however you feel like. What I did is that I made some little features out of felt that I'm going to add to my little guy to give him a face. Now that I've got them all decorated, I'm going to pour some water into my container and make sure my tail is all nice and soaked up in there. And here's my little buddy. I made a mouse, but you can always make whatever kind of creature your child finds super reinforcing. Make sure they like the little animal that you make so they'll want to come back and revisit him. As you can see right now, he's a little ball, but hopefully, keeping your fingers crossed, in a week he'll have some hair. With the snap of my fingers, we're going to go through a week in a few seconds. And oh my gosh, this little guy has changed quite a bit. Can you see how? Yeah, he's got some hair now. You can have your kids describe how this little guy looks to their friends, and you can even work on body parts by having them label all the features that this little guy has on his face. So let's see, what does he have? He's got eyes, a nose, a mouth, and ears. What do you think will happen to him if I stop watering him? Yeah, he probably won't be growing any more hair if I did that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity. I know I did. Tune in next time, okay? And until then, craft on. Bye, guys.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest in our studio right now, Dr. Jonathan Tarbox. We usually have you later on Fridays, but we have a very special guest a little bit later on in the show. Nick Guzman's going to be with us, and I know that you guys have things that you have to be to a little bit earlier, so we rearranged the schedule to get you in earlier. So thrilled to have you here.
Great to be here.
People know you if they watch the show, but if they don't, you are the head of research and development here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders and the director of the Autism Research Group.
That's correct.
Two amazing credentials, and you're also an incredibly smart person who has worked extensively with children on the autism spectrum and a great resource.
Thank you.
So we love to have you here and explain things to us.
Well, I enjoy being here. So.
Well, it's my thrill always. But we have to start with you're having an event, the Autism Research Group, a little bit later on this month. So tell us what's happening and why people might be interested.
Right. So part of Autism Research Group's general mission is to disseminate information about how to help people and how to improve lives for families affected by autism. And so part of what we do is a sort of a conference series or a CEU conference series where we do maybe every 2-3 months or so. We hold a one-day workshop. And the purpose is to provide everyday, practical, useful information for professionals who work with kids on the spectrum. It can be useful for family members too, but it's primarily targeted towards professionals, BCBAs in particular. However, special education teachers and speech and language pathologists also find it useful.
Okay.
Each one is a little bit different. What this particular workshop is going to focus on is how to teach executive function skills and how to teach perspective-taking skills. So those two kind of general areas of functioning, it's going to be an all-day workshop, 6 hours, and it's going to review existing research, but primarily the purpose of the workshop is to walk people through step by step. Here's how to actually teach some of these skills. Okay. So there'll be a focus on vignettes and practical application and sort of problem solving, clinical problem solving.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but we get a lot of people who will write in and say, talk to us about what to do with the older kids and the high functioning kids. What can we do to make the next leap with those kinds of kids? And this is exactly in the area.
Yeah, that's exactly what this workshop is for. So it's for kids who already have pretty well-established verbal repertoire, so they have good communication skills, they have some basic social skills, but are ready to sort of take it to the next level of sort of skills like self-monitoring, self-control, sort of working memory, self-management, understanding other people's emotions, understanding others' intentions, perspectives, desires, preferences, etc., and sort of using all of those skills to sort of tie everything together, both socially and academically. So it's sort of the higher order skills that we all use on a daily basis to be successful in sort of complex, confusing environments like work and school.
Yeah, and being able to achieve a goal, whether it's short term or long term, putting all the elements together to be able to make that happen. And I have to say, in my travels, in my life, supposedly neurotypical, the question marks about that.
For us all.
Right? There have been different times in my life where I've been someplace and heard people speaking about how we can be more effective, how we can be more efficient, how you can get more done, how you can achieve the things that you want in your life, and they call it a business seminar or a personal coaching seminar or whatever you want to call it. That's what they call it for the supposedly neurotypical world.
Right.
And it wasn't, and I've gone to those things and appreciated them and read the books and made progress, I guess, in my life, but it wasn't until I sat down and read some of the curriculum that you guys have for perspective taking and for executive functions that some of the marbles dropped, and I went, this is great stuff.
For everybody.
Why isn't this available for all of us? So I would argue that this is great teaching for if you're somebody who is working with individuals who are on the spectrum that are a little bit older, they're high functioning, and you're thinking, okay, what do I have to do? But you're also going to get something personally out of it too.
It's really true, because the neat thing about the ABA perspective on teaching complex skills like cognition or perspective taking is instead of worrying about what part of the brain is broken or works or doesn't work, or maybe we'll give someone a medication to make their brain work better or any of that kind of stuff, that at the end of the day, there's not really much we can do about any of that.
Yeah.
The ABA approach instead is to say, okay, well, what concrete skills are actually needed? So I can worry about things all day long if I want to, but what do I actually have to do today to be more successful and more functional in my day-to-day life? Let's figure that out. Let's figure out how to teach it, provide lots of practice opportunities, make sure the skill generalizes, and make sure the person can apply that skill in their everyday life. And you're right, it applies equally to us as it does to the kids that we work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to pick the things that you want. It's not forcing down somebody's throat, oh, you must behave in this way. But if you have a young person who's on the spectrum and says, I really want to, whatever it is, be able to play the piano, or I want to be able to go to college or whatever, helping them to have the skills to achieve the things that they want to achieve.
Exactly. So, in fact, one of the skills we're going to talk about at this seminar is problem solving.
Okay.
And so, on a day-to-day basis, when things don't go quite the way you want them to, you got to figure out how to fix it, right? And how to behave effectively. It's not good enough to just raise your hand and say help, right? I mean, of course, there's a time and place for that, but if you want to be successful and if you want to be effective, you got to figure out how to solve your own problems. And of course, on a day-to-day basis, every problem is going to be different, right? Yeah. So it's not good enough to teach someone a rule or memorize some kind of script, right? Yeah. It has to be an overall generalized ability to figure out what's going on, analyze the situation, make a plan, start executing the plan, monitor your own progress towards the goal that will solve the problem, right? And when things don't work, figure out what to do about it. Now, all of those things are brain processes, sure, but they're also skills. They're also behaviors that are teachable. So that's, exactly. It's what these skills do is empower the child with the ability to just achieve what they want to achieve. It's not saying you should like X or you should like Y or you should like Z. It's saying here's the tools to use to get whatever you want, whatever that is.
What would you like?
Yeah.
And again, what's amazing to me about it is I think that there are a lot of unspoken things that we, just like social rules, there are a lot of unspoken rules that we don't identify, and that once they're written down and you can look at them and go, okay, here's what I need to do, it becomes that duh moment that we talk about sometimes, that you guys talk about something in research that hasn't occurred to me, and I have that duh moment, like, well, that makes total sense. But perfect example, when you guys were teaching me what executive functions were, I was having a discussion with Dr. Nadjowski, who just left us, and she said, okay, Shannon, for instance, every day that I take my kids to school, there is one mom who is running with, she's got one child in a stroller, and she's running with the other child, and her hair is wet, and she looks completely frazzled because she's trying to get them there, and she's late every single day.
Right.
And she said, this poor woman is having this experience, but if we had the opportunity to sit down with her and say, what do we need to change to make it so that you don't have to do this? Now, I'm pretty much, or I was pretty much at that moment that mom.
Yeah, I probably still am that dad.
Well, and on some days I am that mom. And she said, for instance, is there just 3 things that she needs to prep the night before so that she, or is it that she needs to get up 15 minutes early? What do we need to change that's good for her life so that she isn't having the emotional experience? It's okay if she likes it, but if she doesn't like to be frazzled,
she probably doesn't.
And probably doesn't. It's probably not all that reinforcing to her. But if she doesn't like it, what could we change? And I sat there and thought, oh my gosh, what in my life could I possibly have control over instead of constantly being a late mom?
Because, and we all have goals that are unmet and that we've failed to attain in the past. And there's reasons for that. It's not just random. It's not because they're impossible. It's not because we're lazy, right? It's not because we don't care. A lot of times it's because we just haven't been taught the tools of how to address the problem and really plan and be strategic about it. And so that's what EF, or executive functioning teaching, is all about for these kids, and that's what we're going to talk about at the
And I imagine how successful you guys have been at teaching these things with kids on the spectrum.
Yeah, well, what's cool about it is when a kid says something like this to you, he says, hey, you know that thing you've been trying to teach me about how I should think first before I act, and then I should, maybe make a list of what I need to do first before I go and try to do it, things like that. I tried it and it actually worked pretty well with this other thing that we never taught him. You know what I mean? Like a completely different problem in a different setting on a different day with no therapist present. Just the kid taking charge and able to be more effective in terms of achieving the goals that he wants. We see it all the time, and it's heart.
That's got to be amazing. Well, very exciting. So if people want to attend, what do they need to do? Where do they need to go?
They should look at, let's say, they should look at the workshop website, which I believe is workshop.autismresearchgroup.org.
And I think they can also go to the Autism Research Group
homepage, yeah, which is www.autismresearchgroup.org. They can also just go to our ARG's homepage.
Right, and there's a
link
tab
to it.
there, yeah.
And it's, you know, the whole point of this series is we're a nonprofit. We're not trying to make any money here. It's about dissemination and training. Right. So it's a really good deal. It's $60 for an all-day workshop, which is ridiculously cheap. And professionals get continuing education credits. So if you're a BCBA, you get 6 CEUs. If you're an MFT, you get, I think, 3 or 5, something like that. And lunch is included too. And it's at a resort in San Diego. So it's, you know, it should be fun.
And so it's in San Diego. People can register for it, but they should do that because it's April 29th.
Right.
And it will
space
fill
is
up.
Limited. They always fill up.
Yeah, because the last one you did was completely sold out weeks in advance.
It was standing room only.
Yeah. And if people can't get to San Diego, are you going to videotape it? Is there a potential
we might. We're actually developing a whole separate series of web-based trainings. And, you know, the Institute for Behavioral Training that CARD runs is a whole separate series of web-based training. So it's kind of like they're already doing that. So I'm not sure that it would make sense to videotape our workshop because, you know, quite honestly, it takes a lot of production and it takes professional level. Well, you know, you're in the video field, but it takes professional level sort of planning and production quality to make it really good and worth watching. Whereas we're just doing a live workshop. So if folks can't make this one, we're doing them on a regular basis in California, probably about once every 3 months in California. So we'll be back in San Diego within a year, but, you know, probably our next one will be in maybe Orange County or maybe the Bay Area within the next probably 3 to 6 months. So they'll be happening on a regular basis.
And if you can get to it, I want to just say to the parents that are out there, a lot of times, you know, there are these kinds of things, and as a parent, we feel like, oh, well, it's for the professionals. Go. If you want to go, if it interests you, go. Don't sit around and wait for somebody else to come back and disseminate the information to you. If you have the ability to go, go.
You know, that's a good point because even though it is targeted mainly to BCBAs and special education teachers, all of the slides, all of the materials, people get for free. They take home with them. And so even if, you know, it's something that you could take to your ABA provider and say, hey, I learned about X, Y, and Z skills with perspective taking and executive functions. Is this something that would be appropriate for my kid? And so, you know, it could be a very valuable resource even if you're not a professional.
Absolutely. And if your school is in the area at all able to get a teacher there, tell your child's teacher to get there.
Great, yep.
Because that's another cool thing. All right, we're going to take a really short break and come back more with Dr. Jonathan Tarbox, but don't forget that in the next hour we're having Nick Guzman who's going to be with us, and he's going to play a little music for us. You know, he's opening and getting to play with Crosby, Stills, and Nash on Saturday. How exciting is that?
That's really cool.
We get to have a little fun on Friday here.
Yeah.
All right, so stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, you know, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest in the studio, Dr. Jonathan Tarbox, who I just so enjoyed talking to. We've been talking about compassion in action all week long. As people may know, I gave myself a haircut so that I could look like you, and because I admire your haircut so much. And
you have compassion for my baldness.
No, but yours is a choice.
Sure.
Yours is a choice.
Sure, it's a choice.
And this was a choice, too. If you're just tuning in, on Monday, for our Compassion in Action, this is an initiative that we started for the month, for Autism Awareness Month, asking everyone to take an action, show compassion to somebody else. And I chose the action of shaving my head on the show for a young dad who has cancer, Ryan Oaf, and you can find his Facebook page, Fight for Ryan. Amazing, amazing young man. But we've been talking about how important it is for people to show compassion to our family members that are on the spectrum, to show compassion for us, for what we're going through when our child is on the spectrum. And it's important that we teach it to our children, too. But it's a toughie.
It's very difficult. Yeah, it can be very challenging.
So you're a brilliant mind on teaching things that you can't quite, point to and say, this is a phone.
Right, less concrete.
Yeah. How do we begin to teach compassion to our kids?
Sure. Well, compassion, we've been thinking about this topic for years and actually trying to produce research on it. Compassion is sort of part of the overall perspective-taking repertoire, I believe. I think it's useful to think of it that way. You're not going to have compassion for someone else if you completely don't understand what it's like to be in their shoes, right? That's sort of a big part of it. There actually is some good scientific research in the area of relational frame theory, basically showing that one's the way that one relates to others and one's ability to do perspective-taking is based on a skill set of actually relating oneself to other people as a behavior per se, and that some of that is definitely teachable. So at CARD, for, 10, 20 years, we've been teaching perspective taking, the ability to relate oneself to others, for a long time clinically. And the way that they did it was kind of just, let's just practice it a lot and give feedback, and practice it across a lot of different people in a lot of different situations, lots of different emotions, lots of different mental states, and let's just kind of go for it and see what we can do. And it turns out it works. And now going back to the scientific research in the area of relational frame theory, there actually is some evidence now to show that the ability to relate oneself to someone else is a learned behavior, and that in kids on the spectrum, and of course every kid is different, but for a lot of kids on the spectrum, that is a behavior or a skill that just isn't learned as easily. So, every kid's different. Some kids are not going to learn basic requesting skills or manding on their own, so we got to teach it, right? A lot of other kids have great communication skills, excellent, even advanced language and IQ, and yet in the specific area of relating oneself to others, that particular skill repertoire may not develop at all if it's not directly taught. So the way that we directly teach it is same as everything else in ABA, which is lots and lots of practice, keep it positive, but it's not rote memorization or rote repetition. It's lots of practice of different examples of relating oneself to someone else. So, for example, if you read a book with a character that's kind of similar to you and something bad happens to the character, you might feel bad, right? You feel compassion for that character. If it was a real person in front of you, you might hand them, if they're hurt, you might hand them a Band-Aid, right? Or if they're hungry, you might hand them some food. You do something to take care of that person because you relate them to similar, or you relate them as similar to you. Now, if we want to encourage that in kids, in fact, just in our regular culture, we have ways of doing that, right? Like we'll have a kid read a book about the Holocaust, let's say, right? To encourage compassion. And for the typically developing population, that may well work, right? Maybe they only need a couple practice opportunities, right? Read a couple books, watch a couple movies, maybe go serve food at a homeless shelter, right? Those kinds of activities very likely do increase compassion. And what they are is basically practice opportunities for understanding what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. So with the kids on the spectrum that we work with, all we do is increase the number of practice opportunities and give really specific feedback. So maybe reading one book isn't enough. maybe let's read 10 books or 20 books across the space of 6 months, right? Maybe just reading a book isn't enough. Maybe we need to watch a movie. Maybe we need to go to a homeless shelter. Maybe we need to go to an animal shelter and help clean out cages and take care of sick animals. All of those different activities are opportunities for the kid to stop and think, wait a minute, what would it feel like to me if I was in that guy's shoes? Like, wow, I've never been really hungry before. That would be awful, right? And so it's the same as anything else in ABA. Lots of practice, lots of direct feedback. Make it fun. Well, I don't know if it's always fun, right, to feel bad for somebody else, but don't make it negative. You know, we're not talking about forcing anyone to do anything they don't want to do. But lots of practice is it really honestly is what it comes down to, and not repetition of the same thing over and over. So so you're not going to read one story and then read that one 10 times in a row. You know, good job. We're not talking about that kind of stuff. We're talking about lots of different practice opportunities in different situations.
And I love, you know, your example of saying, well, you know, it's not fun to feel that way, but we have ways of making, you know, the experience of that okay. I think about with my son that, you know, whenever he does have those emotions, I usually will give him some sort of praise and hug him and say, you know, I just love it so much that you think about other people, and then he feels like, oh, mom thinks I'm great when I do this.
That's right. And you know what? At first, you might even see your kid do it on purpose just to make you happy, right? Fine. You know what? That's a start.
Fake it till we make it.
We'll take it, you know? But then over successive opportunities and after enough exposure, they can't fake it anymore. Their emotions start to feel real. And so the kids start to own it, and it becomes real, and it's very cool.
That's a very cool thing. Well, that gives us a whole lot of hope for the weekend. We have to let you go because I know you've got places to go, and we've got a really wonderful guest who's going to be joining us, Nick Guzman. So we're going to go to the A word, but I thank you very much, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Thanks for having me.
All right, and we'll see you next week.
That sounds good.
Okay. We're going to go to the A word now. Oh, yes, I have to remind you. I keep forgetting. Bite Your Bills. You need to go to biteyourbills.com right now. It's not too late. You can still register to sign up for the free webinars that Yolanda Baker is doing. Her book is Bite Your Bills, Cutting Medical Costs for the Disabled. The subtitle, which I just love, How I Got $28,000 back in medical expenses. Because couldn't we all use $28,000 this year to spend on something else other than medical expenses? Great book. But more importantly is that Yolanda is giving free webinars. What a great gift to our community she is this week. It's not too late to change what you're doing on this year's taxes. I know this has been my Bible the last couple of days as I've been doing the taxes and gotten some great tips that are going to save us a whole lot of money, and also tips about what to do in the coming year, how to keep my receipts so that I can save even more money. And Yolanda is giving free webinars today and next week, so go to biteyourbills.com, sign up for one of those free webinars. She is an autism mom, so she's been there, she knows what we're dealing with, and she saved some money, and she's happy to show you how to do it. And again, it's free. So biteyourbills.com, check it out. We're going to go to the A word. This is the amazing documentary, ongoing documentary, being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, following a little boy, Jack Riley, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2, and he is making tremendous progress. Take a look at all the things that he's working on, all the skills that he's gaining. This is the A word.
A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W.
Talking a lot this morning.
Now I down my pieces. Next time,
Won't you?
no say with sleep.
That's right, kiddo. Very good. Hey, Jack Riley, one more minute. Say okay. Thank you. Do you want to play something else for now? What do you want to play?
Pancake.
You want to play pancakes? Oh, is this the sign for pancakes? What do you want to work for, Jack Riley? Do you want to work for puzzle, for trains, for jumping on the bed? What do you want to work for? More jumping? Okay.
Pancake. Pancake.
Okay. Sit down here, though.
Pancake.
You want pancakes? Can you say that better? Say, I want pancakes.
I want pancake.
Should we go see where the pancakes are then? Okay, all right. Let's go find Dad. Come on. Come with me. Walk with me. and we'll go find Dad, okay? All right. Can you open the door? Turn. There you go. Nice. Let's go see where those pancakes are. Say, I'm hungry. Let's see, quick questions, okay? All right. Okay, look. Okay. What's your name? What's your name? Nice job. How old are you? 8. Good job. Sit down, though. Okay. Where do you live?
Jessica teaches Jack Riley other social ID questions such as where do you live and what's your last name.
There you go. Nice job. Here you go. Slow down. There you go. Hi.
You look cute. I love you.
Group kiss. Group kiss. Ready? 1, 2. Oh, nice hands.
Nice hands. Nice hands. Nice hands. That's nice hands get you more attention than bad hands.
Big brother. Who's big brother?
Who's a big brother?
Yes. Where's the little sister?
Where's the little sister?
Where? Is she here? Is that
Right
sister?
there. Right, that's right.
Can she have a kiss? Can little sister have a kiss? Thank you.
I hope.
Jack Riley is needing less prompting to appropriately gain attention. Jessica only gestures to get him to ask. They introduced the skill about 7 weeks ago, and it's becoming less contrived and is occurring naturally in situations. Here's a look from 7 weeks ago, when Jessica first introduced gaining attention. In the beginning, she tempts Jack Riley with an item he wants, then prompts him the whole way, gesturing and physically showing him what to do and what to say.
Jessica. I want pancakes. Hey, look at me when you say it. Say, I want pancakes.
As time goes by and the skill becomes more natural, the prompting will completely fade away.
Ready? Okay, show them how you can use a straw. You gotta go all the way. Show me. There you go. Good job.
Feeding used to be very time-consuming and difficult for Cheryl and Mike. Jack Riley would swat away food fed to him and would refuse to self-feed. He now feeds himself and even uses a fork. His diet, though, is still limited, but it's growing. Drinking has also been an issue for Jack Riley. He's typically only drank out of baby bottles or bottles with a hard nipple top. They've tried getting Jack Riley to drink from a cup, but every time they would present it, he would try to lap it up like a cat, anticipating all the fluid to come rushing at him. Now they have introduced drinking from a straw, so he has an item to drink from that is age appropriate.
Now suck it up. You want to do that again?
Yeah.
Want to do that again?
One more time, and then you can play. Yay! Very good, Jack. Here you go.
You guys got that exact same pitch level there. I don't know how you duplicate.
Do you want the purple iPhone? Okay.
What's the matter?
You can have applesauce.
Hey.
You can have it. You can have it. Come here. Can you show me? Bite for mommy.
Your turn. Do you know? Jack Riley, say, I don't want banana. Okay. What do you want then? What do you want then? I want.
Okay.
One of the food items Jack Riley eats a lot of are bananas. For some reason, though, seeing a banana really upsets Jack Riley. He enjoys eating it, but hates the sight of it. One of the issues is that biting solid food is very aversive to him.
Fear of the banana. Someday we'll tell him he eats one every day.
More awareness than it was in the yogurt, so we have to go in baby steps. So that's fine with me.
History. I might drink the whole thing.
With like no prompting, no. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, kiddos. See ya. Have a good weekend.
Say thanks, Miss Jessica.
You say bye. Hey, can you say bye, Jessica?
Look at her.
Bye, Jessica.
Where is Jessica? Where is Jessica? There she is.
Thank you. Oh, thanks.
Just in case you were wondering.
You're Jessica. You are.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a great weekend, Jessica.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here in the studio with Nick Guzman and his mom, Christina Guzman. Thank you both so much for joining us. It's such a thrill to have you here.
Thank you, Shannon.
And it's such a thrill to see a guitar here in the studio. And Nick's been strumming away during the break, and we just all have been sitting here chatting. And I'm so thrilled that we can let you in on what's been going on, because Nick's got a very important gig tomorrow night. We've been talking about it, but tell us what you're going to be doing tomorrow night.
I'm going to play with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, playing David Crosby's Almost Cut My Hair, and then at the end doing Teach Your Children with the rest of the singers and
absolutely amazing.
Everyone.
And the whole event, it's an Autism Speaks event that's happening at the Nokia Theater here in Los Angeles, the big Nokia Theater, huge venue. You guys see it on TV all the time. And it's called Light Up the Blues is the entire event.
Yes.
Pretty amazing. Do you know, Mom, how many people that venue holds?
I've been told about 2,800 to 3,000, and not as big as the Staples Center.
Well, still.
But good size.
A pretty amazing event. And so we have to do a little backstory about how you got to this space. So, and first of all, I have to ask you, Nick, you identify yourself as somebody who is on the autism spectrum?
Yes.
Okay. When were you diagnosed with autism?
I think when I was 4.
Okay. And I imagine you don't remember a great deal about that, but I'll bet that Mom does. So, Mom, what was going on that you realized there might be something that you took him to get looked at and got the diagnosis?
It started on the first day of kindergarten. I was a stay-at-home mom. He never had a babysitter other than my mom. And it was one of those situations where everybody said, oh, he'll grow out of whatever issues Mom is worried about.
What was it you were worried about? What was it that they were thinking he was going to grow out of?
Well, for one thing, he didn't play with other kids. He would observe other kids. He was very observant of all things, including music. You know, he was very...
And I see how observant you are now. You're somebody who takes it all in. It's a great thing. It's a gift. But, you know, at 4, you're not sure what it's going to be.
Right. He would lay by the speaker and listening with such a serious look on his face. And I think, is he having a good time? Or but, you know, he was soaking it all in. And then there was this really sad a cappella song Tracy Chapman did.
Yes.
And
I think it's called Behind the Wall.
Yeah, it was a very emotional song. And every time that song would come on, he would just burst out crying. So my husband and I would race to turn it off.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's when we really knew he was connected to the music.
Yeah. Powerful connection.
Yeah.
Well, I like it now.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I hope so, because it's turning out to be kind of your life. I mean, this is you're very recognized now as a performer and as a singer. And is this a big step up for you, this event tonight, or have you already done events like this on a regular basis?
Well, I've done an event with I think 2 years before. I think it was at the Grove, where Jack Black and Stephen Stills held it.
Well, it was done by the Miracle Project, Elaine Hall and Diane Isaacs.
We love Elaine.
Yes,
I don't know Diane, but we love Elaine. Elaine is wonderful.
And Elaine is the reason why Nick is here.
Really?
Yes. So play with the band. Oh my God, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
It's kind of amazing. It's kind of a big.
It's a dream
event
for me. You know?
Well, and I was going to say, so when he was 4 and you were seeing this intensity, but some difficulties on the other end, you took him to a doctor, and is that when you got a diagnosis, or was it later that you got a diagnosis?
Well, it was in kindergarten. He really had a hard time with socialization.
Yeah.
But he had the reading ability of a 3rd grader.
Wow.
And they said to me, what is that? And I said, I don't know. You tell me. I don't understand what's going on either. And so we took him to the regional center, and that's where they said that he had PDD, and the whole...
Okay. So, and a lot of our viewers know PDD, pervasive developmental disorder. A lot of times you get a PDD NOS.
Right. Well, his was PDD, ADD, OCD, and a learning disability.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of full gamut.
Yeah, and I left there not knowing what PDD was.
Okay.
I had it confused with ADD. They said ADD. It was all just a blur. Everything was just a blur to me. It took me a while for my brain to process.
I think that's really typical for most parents. I think it takes us a while to go, what does this mean? And did you go through, was there any grief?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you think that you lost him to something?
Yes,
or?
I mean, you hear that story all the time where they tell you, don't have a lot of hope.
Yeah. Yeah, and is that what you were told?
Yes, and I was depressed. I was very sad. I didn't know. I felt like I was in the twilight zone back there. Nick is 23 going on 24, and back then we didn't have the internet yet.
Yeah.
And I didn't have...
So you really were on your own.
I was, and I was really scared. We went through a lot of emotional changes. Just everything kind of crashed and burned. And we hit rock bottom, and then we started fishing our way back up. And really, the music has been the healing part.
Amazing. So at what point did you stick a guitar in this young man's hands?
Well, he was the one that was going after his dad's guitar.
So you constantly wanted to play with your dad's guitar, and then did Dad start to show you what to do with it?
Well, I started, when I was 11, to play guitar.
Lessons, yeah.
Okay.
I was getting lessons. First, we started out with an instructor named Brian, and we did singing lessons and piano lessons. And I started playing piano when I was 7. When I found an out-of-tune piano in a garage.
Yeah, we were renting a house with a garage, with a piano in there, and Nick found it.
And started, and so then did you get him piano lessons at that point?
No, not yet. Guitar was first. His dad plays guitar, so, he taught him some chords, and Nick took off.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then when did you realize that he was going to be a performer?
When he didn't stop liking it. Because the thing about kids with autism is they go into these little niches, right?
Right.
They, because at one time Nick was really into, sign language. We thought, well, maybe, he'll do like concerts and be a translator. And then he got really into the president. So I took him to the Capitol, and they gave him a tour, and they gave him a flag. Because he told him, all the president's names and things like that. He had all these different interests. But the thing was, he was very focused on whatever he was into.
Wow.
Just,
Well, what I'm hearing, though, are parents that, because we've talked with Temple Grandin about this, about how do you find what that area of interest is with your kids, but you paid attention, and whatever it was, you fed it. You didn't just say, he likes the guitar, so we're going to do the guitar, and when he likes the presidents, we're not going to feed that. You fed it all.
Well, we did, but, you want to go with a functioning skill.
Yes,
functioning
that's true.
Interest. Now, if you have a kid who's really into schedules at the train station, you have to go, well, how is he going to work at the train station?
Right.
Or is it just going to be some obsessive thing he's doing?
Right. What can we do with this, and how can we make it something bigger, make it something functional?
And you have to really look at it and see where else that maybe can translate.
That's great. That's great. You got a great mom, and I think a great dad too. That we've heard that. And I think because I met you guys at the Art of Autism. They had a music event a couple of weeks ago, and I got there too late to see you perform, but you guys gave me a CD, and we were listening to it on the way home, and my husband, who's a huge Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young fan, was like, this kid is great. And we were already talking about getting you on the show, and thrilled to have you here today, because you guys have had to come from quite a ways to be here for the event, and I know you got a lot of things going on this weekend, but that you found time to join us here is just a thrill. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have you play. Enough of the talking about it. We want to see, we want everybody else to see how talented you are. So we're going to take a quick break. Stick with us.
Every child with autism deserves a bright future.
Without further clarification, the Affordable Care Act could actually result in less benefits for individuals with autism spectrum disorders.
We urge Catherine Sebelius to clarify the Affordable Health Care Act.
She can make one change one little minor change to make applied behavioral analysis be part of the healthcare plan.
By signing this petition, you are protecting the healthcare benefits of individuals with autism spectrum disorders.
We need to make sure
that we are heard
and seen.
Sign a petition at autism-live.com.
Here's how you can show your infinite support. Create your own infinity ribbon. What you're going to do is take a ribbon that's been cut about 8 inches long, and you're going to grab one end and then twist it, and then take the two ends and join them together, and then take it together, and then I'm going to flip it around and take another piece of tape, and what I have is double-sided sticky tape. Squeeze down. You have your very own infinity ribbon. With ABA,
the possibilities are infinite.
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 With ABA,
the possibilities are infinite. Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest in the studio right now, Nick Guzman and his mom, Christina Guzman. And Nick is going to be playing tomorrow night for Light Up the Blues at the Nokia Theater. He's going to be on stage with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And he's going to sing for us right now. What's the first song that you're going to sing?
I'm going to sing Old Man by Neil Young.
Okay, let's hear it.
that makes me think of two. Love lost such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you.
me crying, Nick. You know, I'm sitting here and watching you play, and you're so talented. And you know, there's that moment when you said, "Look in my eyes, I'm a lot like you," and I'm just struck by the irony of the words and how we've been talking about compassion in action and how people need to realize that individuals on the spectrum deserve all the respect and consideration and compassion, and that they're just like everybody else with some differences, and again, the irony about the eye. You make brilliant eye contact, and to be able to make eye contact while you're performing is a huge skill. A lot of people are afraid, you know, and want to look down, and the fact that you do that was just a very powerful thing, and it made me well up sitting here. But such a talent, and I got to pull it together here a little bit. But we're gonna take a short break and come back and have Nick sing another song, and then we're gonna talk some more, because really you guys are such an inspiration to so many of us who have kids on the spectrum. You know, you just show what's possible. You just show what's possible, and that's huge.
You have to believe in the possibilities.
Yeah.
And not be weighed down by all the negativity out there.
Right.
Because there's a ton of negativity.
Oh, yes, there is. But look at what's possible. How fabulous is that? What a gift you are to all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you kidding me? All right, so we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have two really incredible people here with us in the studio. We have Christina Guzman, who is the mom of Nick Guzman, we just got to hear him play, and my goodness, you're just so talented, which I already knew because I'd heard the CD and heard everybody talking about you, but to have you sitting this close and live is another thing entirely. You're a brilliant young man, and you're going to sing another song for us, but I just wanted to take a second to talk about what this event means to you tomorrow, this Light Up the Blues. You're going to be playing at this event, and I think this would be a very exciting thing for anyone to be on stage with Crosby, Stills, and Nash to be performing. But this is your second time performing with... You'd performed with David Crosby before, hadn't you?
Actually, Stephen Stills.
Stephen Stills, sorry. So when did you perform with Stephen Stills?
October 4th, 2011.
And that was another Autism Speaks event?
That was a Miracle Project.
Yeah. Miracle Project event that we've just been talking about. Okay. And what did you sing with him then?
Helplessly Hoping.
Oh, my goodness.
The first song he learned on guitar.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
Full circle.
Very full circle. And that had to have been a proud moment for you, Mom.
We didn't know. We didn't know what was going to happen. I was backstage, and I heard the song start, and I thought, oh, Nick really wanted to sing that song. And I looked up, and I saw Stephen's back, and then I heard Nick, and I was stunned.
How did you not know that your child was going to be on stage with Stephen Stills?
It wasn't planned.
So he just pulled him up and said, Nick, you come and sing with me?
Somebody pulled him up and said...
Sing with this young man.
Yeah.
So this was a couple of years ago.
2011.
Okay, and so now you get to do this big event in this huge, huge venue. But you do other events. You sing at other events. How often are you performing these days?
Well, I perform at open mics in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And also the galleries and all the other events. The autism, we do a lot of, well, he does a lot of autism events.
Yeah.
We've done Autism Speaks, the Miracle Project, the Art of Autism.
Yeah.
We've done regional centers in San Francisco and San Jose.
So you've kind of had to step up and be a little bit manager. Is that right,
Yeah.
Mom? Which maybe wasn't what you were planning on doing.
No, but you need to get the job done, so you just do what you have to do, and that's what an autism mom does anyway,
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly what we're all.
Also, I also played my first wedding and restaurant in San Francisco.
Yes.
Okay, so you're available for weddings.
Yes.
People should know that. That's a wonderful thing.
He's available for bookings.
Yeah, there you go. Fabulous. Okay, so what are you going to sing for us next?
I think I'm going to sing I've Just Seen a Face by the Beatles.
Okay, awesome.
I've just seen a face, I can't forget the time or place where we just met. She's just the girl for me, and I want all the world to see we met. Had it been another day, I might have
Thank you so much. I got my face hurts. I'm grinning so much. I have to ask. So you're so great on the guitar, and you got such a beautiful voice. Are you also writing music?
I'm writing the music. I'm having trouble with the lyrics.
So maybe there's somebody out there in your future who's going to be your lyricist. Maybe it's just a Simon and Garfunkel situation.
Right. Or maybe an Elton John and Bernie Taupin.
There we go. That could be a pretty amazing thing. But I love it that you're finding the music. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we have to know what's on your agenda. What do you hope to do next? You got this big event. What does Nick Guzman want to do?
Well, I want to be a recording artist.
Well, I could see that happening. I can definitely see that happening. And this kind of music, when you write, is this the kind of music that you write, kind of folk arty kind of stuff?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay, cool. Well, I love that kind of music, and heaven knows. Have you ever thought about auditioning for some of the shows that are out there that are like the talent show kind of things?
Well, I've auditioned for American Idol, but...
And they didn't take you?
No.
That was a long day.
I would bet that was a long day. Which cast was it? They lost their minds if they didn't take you.
I think it was the same one that...
James Durbin. That same year.
Yeah,
we met James Durbin in Santa Cruz.
Interesting. And so was he already...
Oh, yeah.
And so did you have an opportunity to talk with him about...
He was very gracious. We stood in line for hours with other people, but when we got there, his attention was totally on Nick, and they got to talk. And
he was awesome.
Was he? And so did he have some advice for you about how to deal with the pressures of being a recording artist? And
we didn't get into that kind of thing. It was mostly, just telling him how awesome we thought he was.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we certainly enjoyed watching him on American Idol. We've asked him to be on the show, and he's a very busy person, so we've not yet had him. But now that we've had you, he's going to see what he's missed out on, and so he'll want to come and be on the show. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I've got a couple more questions for you guys about what, because there was a long gap of him being diagnosed and learning how to play the guitar to getting here. And I want to talk with you, Nick, a little bit about, what it's like being in your early 20s here in the United States and being on the spectrum, and what your friends are like and what your social life is like. But anything that we ask, that if it's too personal, you can tell me that's too personal. Is that a deal?
All right.
Okay. All right. So we're going to take a break and come back right after these messages.
ECF and DAC Gallery. Started in 1946. A group of parents had some children that they wanted to engage in productive activities.
Want to show us your artwork in the gallery?
Yeah.
Yeah, show us. I want to see. And the two top ones are yours?
Yeah.
Very cool. Are you proud of them?
Yeah. We actually work with about 150 students, and they're all special needs artists.
I like working with clay. Clay is my outlet because clay can mold in all kinds of shapes.
When they come to the program, they don't realize that the potential that they have of being great artists. And once they work with the professional artists that we have here, they begin to discover that they do have talent. When they make that discovery of their talent, and when there are even some that have challenging behaviors, those behavior would change.
This is my third year here. This is like home sweet home, like family, friends. They're like family, so I like it here.
Some have moved from here to go to college, even get jobs. That's great, and molding them to be the people that they never thought that they would be.
Welcome back. We have fabulous guests in our studio right now. We have Nick Guzman, a wonderful, talented performer, and we have his mom, Christina Guzman. Nick is going to be performing tomorrow night at the Nokia Theater on stage with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, singing and playing the guitar. A really amazing, amazing event, and he's been sitting here with us playing a couple of songs. So very talented. If people want to get your music, you have a website, and can they get a CD yet, or is that still in the makings?
Well, those are cover songs.
They're really cover songs.
So since he hasn't written his own music with lyrics yet, but that's as soon as he does. There will
so
be.
that's all in the making. And during the break, we were talking a little bit because I said before the break we're going to talk about how did you get from diagnosis and learning how to play the guitar to getting to this point where you're performing at this level. And you guys mentioned Joey Travolta, which also gave me another silly grin because we love Joey Travolta here. And what did you do with Joey Travolta? How did you meet Joey Travolta?
Well, in San Jose, he was holding up an acting camp. It was a film camp. And I went there 4 times.
Wow.
One at San Jose State and the other at the Campbell Union, I think it was. I'm not sure.
And we've had Joey on the show before, and we've talked about his inclusion films, which I encourage everybody to go to their website, Inclusion Films, and take a look because we've heard such amazing stories. And it's a lot of times we talk about things that happen in California, but this is not just a California thing. Joey goes all over the United States and even to Canada to do these camps. And they really, we've heard from so many parents that it's life-changing.
It was.
And that's what I'm hearing from you guys. So you did it 4 times. So you must have liked it a little.
Actually, I liked it a lot.
Okay. And
when I actually was there that I performed for the kids during the break, and that's when I decided I'm going to be a performer.
There you go. And Joey saw that talent in you, and I have seen and heard in him that he recognizes things in individuals and says, here's what you have that we're going to pull out and help you to cultivate, and he certainly saw that in Nick. And you were just telling a story during the break. Share with us. So you were in the car with Joey. What did Joey say to you?
Yeah. We're at the stoplight, and he says, I'm going to write a song for Nick, and I want him to come to Hollywood and record it. And I said, you okay? And he did. 3 days later, he had a song, and we came to Hollywood, and he recorded it with Nick. It's on YouTube. It's called Since We're Friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so people can check that out on YouTube. Since We're Friends, look for Nick Guzman on the YouTube channel.
Yes.
So a pretty amazing thing. And but you just weren't singing at the camps, although that was something that came out of it, but you also participated in the filmmaking and those kinds of things?
Yes.
And did you like that?
Yes, I did. Every minute of it.
He's always a rock star.
Well, and we've covered on the show, as I said, we've had Joey on the show talking about it, and we also were involved with Autism Care and Treatment Today. They're a nonprofit organization that raises money for grants for families for different things that they need. And every summer now, they do a camp for military families on the autism spectrum where the individual that's on the spectrum gets to come with a sibling, and Joey does a whole 2 weeks with them, and it can be younger kids. And we talked to those families a lot last year, and they said just their children blossomed, were much more social afterwards. They were so excited. What kinds of things did you see in Nick afterwards that made you want to send him back 3 more times?
Well, it was like no other camp, really. He had never been to a camp, and I wasn't really sure he would really enjoy camp. Because if you think about, Camp Redwood or, I don't know, different kinds of camping type, I think about the bugs, which he doesn't like. He doesn't like yellow jackets.
I don't
doesn't, that whole camping thing wasn't his thing, and that's the only kind of camps I knew about. But the film camp, I had a feeling that maybe he might like that. But, it was Joey's first film camp that we went to.
Oh, wow, the very first one.
Yeah, it was at San Jose State University. And so it was actually fun to be a part of that and see how it all unfolded and how much it's changed through the years and how it's expanding.
Yeah.
And, it's just great. The arts is what's really helped Nick grow socially in every capacity. You talk about his eye contact.
Yeah.
That came from performing.
Beautiful eye contact.
You
have better eye contact than I have, Nick. Let's be honest about it. Truly. Yeah. I mean, because a lot of people, it's intense when you make eye contact, and you have beautiful, beautiful eye contact. And I imagine if you went 4 times, imagine you made some friends at film camp.
I did.
That you've kept forever. So is Danny Bowman somebody that that you're friends with?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I assisted her with her animation school.
Okay.
At Joey's Camp.
At Joey's Camp.
Because we've had her on the show as well, and we've been trying to get her back in this month for Autism Awareness Month. And she's an amazing young woman, an artist, and has her own studio. And I didn't realize that you had been helping her as well. Well, I'm going to have to take Danny to task because she didn't introduce me to you. It was Alex Plank who said to me, "Have you met Nick? You got to come over and meet Nick." So, and we love Alex is a regular here with us on Mondays. He joins us. So, but I think it's great. And I'm wondering, so how old are you now?
I'm 23 right now.
23.
I'm going to be 24 on May 4th.
Okay. Well, happy birthday early.
Which is also Mike Durant's birthday.
Now, I don't know Mike. Is he somebody who is part of the film camp, or?
No, he's a bassist from Green Day.
Oh, okay.
He has this thing where you go ahead and do your thing, Nick.
I also like to acknowledge who people share a birthday with.
Okay.
Like he can tell you who you share your birthday with.
I know one famous person that I share my birthday with. So let's see. My birthday is September 15th.
That's also Lee Dorman's birthday from Iron Butterfly, and Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, I didn't know that. I knew Agatha Christie. I share the birthday with Agatha Christie. So that I've known that since I was little, but I didn't know. I don't have the musical reference that you have, but that's really exciting to know. And so you're able to do that with all kinds of anybody's birthday. You're able to do that with?
Yes.
That's pretty awesome. And are they always people who play in bands? Is that mostly whose birthdays you know?
Well, actors as well.
Okay.
And other celebrities.
So who does your mom share a birthday with?
Mom has a birthday with Tom Hanks, Jack White, and Isaac Brock from Modest Mouse.
And Courtney Love. All right. Very cool. Yeah. So I have to ask, and then you can tell me if it's too personal, but we always have I want to know because I'm about to have a teenager soon, and we always have parents of teenagers who talk about, those teen years, and you've made it successfully through the teen years, both of you. Was it difficult in your teenage years? Was it hard to make friends?
Well, it was real tough for me in high school because, there were a lot of, mean people in those high school years. It was basically when I was in my sophomore year when I had to go to a social class, and there was a guy named Ben, and
you don't have to mention names, though, Nick.
Don't tell us the last name, but it's okay to say Ben. But gave you a hard time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But college is different now, though.
But college is very, very different.
So you're in college right now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a wonderful thing. And what are you studying in college?
Right now I'm taking music theory and music tech.
Okay, cool.
And I think it's in music tech that I'm experiencing to write certain types of music.
Okay.
He's learning how to do all that, and it's really great.
That's very exciting to learn all the theory and stuff. That's very admirable because a lot of musicians don't take the time.
Yeah, music theory is where I'm learning how to write music, and music tech is how I should record or remix stuff.
Oh, my goodness, because all the technology, you would have to learn that. And I'm curious, when you learned how to play guitar, did you learn from sheet music or the tablature that or do you read music?
Well, I'm learning how to read music right now.
Okay.
I used to learn it by ear. But
really?
Well, he's got perfect pitch.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the thing about that, it's like, a blessing.
I gotta learn how to.
Yeah, because I'm sure it's annoying when anybody's singing off key. That probably drives you slightly batty.
I'm always trying to tell him to learn it from the chords.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I had to look at the chords to learn it the right way.
He wants to do it by ear, and most of the time he does very well. But if you're going to play, like he's going to play with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, if he's going to play a song with them, he's got to know what the chords, exactly what they're going to play.
Right.
To play them, not just wing it.
Absolutely. So how much time do you spend practicing and singing and playing your guitar a day?
Well, now I just do like a half hour of practice or even an hour.
Okay.
Every day. But
that's not a crazy amount of time.
No,
really.
It should actually be more. I mean, I've talked to musicians, and they're talking 6-8 hours a day or longer. And so when he started to practice, because he kind of we were winging it there too. We would go out to the open mics. He'd practice the song a little bit. He could learn a song very quickly, and he'd go out and play it. But to really have it down. really have it down in the, you know, intricate parts. You really have to do your scales and you know, be able to do it in your sleep. And once you have that kind of confidence when you're performing, then you're just so much more powerful because you feel confident.
Right.
And so that all came together. You know, our family's been working on this whole turnaround. We're working out at a boot camp, all of us, and Nick's done tremendous on that.
So you're working out now.
Yeah.
As a family.
As a family.
Well, that's pretty inspirational.
It had to be the whole family.
Yeah.
And, you know, just one person in the family can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You have to have everybody cohesive, on board, following the plan together.
So is that something you guys go to in the morning or in the afternoon, or what?
It's on Saturday mornings. We go to a boot camp, but then we follow it during the week, and we have an elliptical and a weight machine.
Yeah. Also, I like to run at the high school.
He's a
tracks.
Oh, that's awesome.
I like to run.
That's an awesome thing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you guys are absolutely amazing. I have one last question for you. In terms of, you know, your life right now, do you feel, is there anything that you feel is holding you back?
I don't know.
I mean, that's a rough question, actually, but I think, you know, I look at you and you seem perfect to me. You seem absolutely perfect, and you got the world by the tail, and you got all these things that you can do. And, you know, we had said to Alex Plank the other day, we were talking about for moms of kids who are younger on the spectrum, we were saying to Alex, you know, if our kids grow up to be like Alex, we'll be thrilled, absolutely thrilled. And if my child grew up like you, Nick, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, you know what? And I am thrilled.
Yeah.
But you have to know that, you know, when you're in the trenches, when your kids are young and they're in the school system, it's really hard. Those are really hard years.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a very emotional time for parents because you've got all these teachers and all these people, therapists, everybody working on your kid. And you're fearful of the future.
Right.
What I can say is that if I knew that this could happen back then, I would have slept more and drank less. Right?
Well, isn't that the best advice ever? No, truly, honestly. You know, I mean, even at the point we're at now, I say that to parents and say, I wish I hadn't worried as much.
Yes. It's a waste of your time and your energy, and when you could really be, you know, putting a lot more positive influences in your life, because that brings you down.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
have to turn that switch off and really regroup and put some effort into getting you have to be the leader of your own ship.
Yep.
You know, you have all these other people, but the parents have to have the main focus of what's really going on.
And I agree with that. And I think that's great to hear that from a mom who's, you know, at this point. But for you, you're happy, and this is a good life for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And I love that answer. I mean, because that was just as honest as it gets. Yeah, this is, and because I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want for our kids, to see that kind of a smile. Yeah. I'm doing what I want to do, and this is a good life.
And it's authentic. It's real. He's worked for it.
Yeah.
You know, he's put the energy into it too, because that's what you have to find. You have to find your child's niche and hone it and encourage them. And even when they don't want to practice, you encourage them to practice. And so they feel better about themselves. They see the improvement, and they feel confident with their successes. And then you just build on from that.
Well, you sure have support. Right? You got a mom and a dad who are behind you 100%.
And his brother Paul.
And a brother Paul who's behind you. And guess what? We're all behind you now, too. So it's all good. I thank you guys so much. I wish you so much fun. I mean, you know, they have that thing about, you know, break a leg that they say when somebody's going to go on stage. But in my family, it's always been to have fun. Because if all this work that you've done and you get there and don't have fun, then I don't know what we're doing. Right? So have a really good time. Take some pictures.
Oh, you betcha.
And will you send us some pictures of it? Because we can't be at your event. We're at a different event tomorrow night. But I wish I could split myself in half and be at both. But I just think you're going to do remarkable things in this life. You already have, both of you. I thank you so much for being here. We're going to take a break and come back to finish out the show, so stick with us. Awesome, you guys.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but you know, we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, you know, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, we wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and they're making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back. So we just had the amazing Nick Guzman and his mom, Christina Guzman, with us, and a question came in right as they were leaving. Somebody said, "This young man is very inspirational. I'm curious," because they came in mid-interview, "was he nonverbal as a toddler? When did he start talking?" And so I was asking them as they were leaving, and mom said he was echolalic as a toddler. So there were all kinds of sound in production, but he was repeating what other people were saying. So hopefully that answers your question, but I'm right with you. What an inspirational young man. What an inspirational family. Just makes you say, okay, look, that thing that I always say, si se puede, we can do this. Yes, we can. Absolutely, right? couple of different things that we want to talk about that are coming up next week, because we've got some really exciting guests that are going to be with us for the next couple of weeks. We're just sort of stacking the deck of all kinds of exciting things going on. But before I forget, I also have to remind you that, and I've got all kinds of papers in here because I'm taking notes at this point from this fabulous book. Yolanda Baker, author of Bite Your Bills, Cutting Medical Costs for the Disabled, subtitled How I Got $28,000 Back in Medical Expenses, is doing free webinars today. So you can sign up by going to biteyourbills.com. You can also find how you can get this great book that has become my new inspirational Bible for this week, because I was up late last night doing my taxes and trying to see how I could get more money back, because like all of you, I've got more things I need to do with my child, and I need every penny that I can to do that. And I would tell you, equally as exciting, I also have started making lists of things that I'm going to do at home. There's some great tips in here about how you can make tax time easier for you so that it doesn't have to be the stress that it's been for me this week, and save money. Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, sometimes it does come down to funding autism, so we need every single penny, and she literally tells you what to do with the pennies. So you got to love that. So that's Yolanda Baker, Bite Your Bills. Go there now. Sign up for the free webinars. There's some today and some next week. And you can also check out the interview that we did with her on Tuesday. We had a couple of tips that we gave as well. Also want to talk about some of the exciting guests that we have with us next week. We're really going to be focusing in on how people are putting compassion in action, and we're asking you to participate. If there's something that you're doing or the group that you're working with is doing, and it could be your child's school or something at your church or a group that you belong to, you can take a 1-minute video, upload it to YouTube, or just send us the raw video. We can put that on the air here and talk about the great things that you're doing to put compassion in action. We've got some, in particular, wonderful guests that are going to be talking with us on Monday here in the studio, and Alex Plank will be with us on Monday. We were just talking about Alex from wrongplanet.net, and I know a lot of you have questions that you like to ask Alex, so he'll be with us here on Monday. And then throughout the show next week, really some very exciting people that we're going to have with us talking about compassion in action, but we've got some more documentaries coming up that we're going to be focusing on, giving you access to things that are happening in the autism community. And we are hoping that we are going to have a special guest with us co-hosting on Wednesday, because Nancy Alsbaugh-Jackson is going to go up to Sacramento to be on the Capitol steps talking about legislation, and we're hoping that we can have her Skype from there. We're out of time, but I just want to tell you all what a pleasure it has been to be with you here this week, and how much I've appreciated all of you supporting me in the head shaving, and equally as important, in compassion and action, the actions that you guys are taking. We're we're out of time, but over the weekend there are still ways to get in touch with us here, and we're a little bit backed up on getting back to some of you message-wise, but we're working on it, and we will get caught up, I promise. I hope that you're participating in events. There are so many events this weekend for autism awareness. Get out, do something, participate, and be seen and be heard. We'll be back on Monday. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.